what it involved. I just thought, you wear cowboy, just something to do with a racket, let's go have fun. My first lesson was me, alone in a tennis court, a ball boy feeding me balls to practice forehand and backhand. It's just 1 hour of forehand, backhand, backhand. And you know, when you're doing something so repetitive that's kind of boring and you're not really good at it, you do this thing that I'm going to talk about, this thing on which a lot of what I'm going to talk about rests on, which is tuning out. And I want to share this particular story with you because it's the first example, the first situation that I can remember where I just tuned out. And all of you are probably familiar with that, being in college, you know, boring lecture, you probably tune out and your mind goes somewhere else. So I was physically present in the tennis court, doing my forehand and backhand, not very well, but doing it nonetheless, and my mind was somewhere else. So what I want to talk about, what I want to get you to try to understand is what happens when you zone out, when you tune out, is that your mind sort of wanders, and you go somewhere else, you're very physically present in one place, and you let your subconscious take over. So why am I talking about zoning out? It's because I happen to believe that this whole space that your mind would go to when you let your subconscious take over is pretty integral to coming up with creative ideas and thoughts. So, where do I get my inspiration from? It's a question that I'm asked a lot. And I don't necessarily have one source or one particular activity that I look to for inspiration. Although it is true that when I first started my company 5 years ago, you know, I don't have a design background, so when I first started my company, I was still trying to find my voice as a designer, what is, you know, my aesthetic, my point of view. So I would look a lot of magazines, I would go to the websites of brands that I respect to see what they were doing. And I had a lot of visual stimulation that I used as guides, and I thought that I was drawing inspiration from those. But now looking back, I don't think that was really inspiration. I think that I was getting visual stimulation that was a product of somebody else's inspiration. You know, I hadn't really found my own inspiration. So now when journalists ask me, where do you get your inspiration from? I give an answer that's short and simple, because no one wants to hear an 18-minute speech on where I get the inspiration from, right? So I just tell them I derive inspiration from the fabrics that I work with. And it's not entirely a lie. It is true that when I see cool fabrics that I'm excited to use, I get this energy. I feel this fiery energy, and I'm like, God, I'm so lucky I'm a designer because this is what I get to do for a living. I get paid to do this. Not yet, it's still a baby company, but you know, I'm going to make big money doing what I really love. And I get this energy that's really integral to designing, but it's still not an idea. So how do you get these ideas? You know, where do ideas come from? Where do you get the whole vision, which for me is going to be the fabric, the silhouette, the tailoring details, everything that's going to give me my collection? Well, I think that different people have different answers, so I can only tell you what works for me. What works for me is a practice of two things. And one of them is this whole notion of free thinking. So, what I do every day, and bear with me, it's going to sound a little amusing, a little crazy, but what I do every day for about 10 to 15 minutes is engage in free thinking. It's kind of like zoning out, but it's not quite the same as daydreaming. Because daydreaming, and the tuning out example I gave you earlier of my tennis lesson, kind of implies that you're in a situation that's boring or unpleasant, and so you do that to escape it. that's connecting with different things that you wouldn't normally register. And the other thing that free thinking does for me, and you could potentially find your own substitute for this, is that it helps me clear a space in my mind that acts as a blank canvas. So that when I see a potentially good idea, I'm able to register it at some level. And you have busy lives, you wake up in the morning and people in your family talking to you, and you're getting ready, there's Facebook, the newspaper, email, people calling you, and then you get to class and you get to work, and it's like constant information that's always bombarding our minds. And then you go home, and what do you do to unwind? You watch TV or you read a book and you talk to your family again. There's no time left for you to really connect with your subconscious mind. I have people looking at me like I'm crazy. But this is a thing that could really be useful. It will help you tap into something that's a little greater than what you are normally capable of. So this is the other thing that I do, the clearing the space in my mind, and maybe exercise or sleep could also help you with the second part, the clearing the space in your crowded brain that acts like a blank canvas so that ideas are able to land. The other thing that I do is I sketch every day. And the sketching that I do is like a brainstorm sketching. So I don't, at that point when I'm sketching, I'm not asking myself, okay, what am I designing? Is this for the next collection? Is somebody going to wear a sleeve like that? Is somebody going to wear a dress like that? No, it's just a regurgitation, or rather a spit out of whatever your brain has to offer. So you just sit with a piece of paper and you start sketching, and whatever comes to your mind, you just sketch. And just like a software programmer has to go to work and write code every day, or a writer works on his or her novel every day, I don't have the luxury of waiting to feel inspired. I can't say, I'm not in the mood to create, so I'm not going to sit down and sketch every day. Too bad. I'm a designer, you've got to have that discipline to sit down and work at it. Even if it's for just half an hour every day, you sit down and you sketch. And it allows you to, you're surprised sometimes with the kind of things that come out on paper, because you're not allowed to think about it, you're just free flow sketching whatever comes to your brain. And so that's the second practice that I do. So the first thing is this free thinking that allows me to tap into my subconscious a little bit. It allows me to clear a blank canvas in my brain for ideas to land, even when I'm not consciously trying to register them. And the second thing is spitting out whatever's in my brain every single day. And I want to just take a second to talk about what we think of as inspiration. And I'll admit that I didn't think about it this much until I started preparing for this TEDx event. But I think that inspiration, we're normally led to believe that it's a single moment, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's one moment of epiphany. I don't think it's one eureka moment. It's like you're connecting these dots while you're working, and it's like the last dot that you connect that brings the whole picture together. That's a sum that's bigger than all the little parts together. And that's why you think it's a moment of epiphany. That's why you think it's your eureka moment when you see the whole vision. But that last dot rests on all the other dots that you've been creating, all the other dots that you've been connecting, and everything that you've been working on. So this practice of the free thinking and the sketching is really a process of creating different dots that are akin to thoughts. And then so once every few weeks I sit down and I put all these ideas in front of me, and that day I need to feel inspired. So I make sure I'm well rested, and I go for a swim, I have a nice breakfast, I'm nicely caffeinated, and I sit down with all my swatches in front of me, all my sketches in front of me, and that's when I start connecting the dots. That's when I start editing and deciding, okay, this is what I want to leave out, and this is what I want to take into my collection. At the end of a really, what I think is a productive day of doing this editing work and connecting dots together, I might come up with, at best, 2 or 3 designs. 2 or 3 complete designs that are figuring out what fabric I'm going to use, what is the silhouette, what are the tailoring details, what is the cut. And in those moments I do think, oh wow, this is my epiphany, this is how it's all going to come together. But it wouldn't have happened had I not been doing this exercise every day of creating these dots, these points of connection. I had this experience a couple of months ago, which for me was really scary. My company is now 5 years old, and anybody who started a company knows that beginning is rocky, and it's still rocky for me. You still have these up and down moments, these moments where you begin to question, or you continue to question everything that you're doing and wondering whether you really made the right decision. So I had this problem a couple of months ago where I felt like I was stuck in this rut of constantly managing other people, troubleshooting, problem solving. I was stuck in operations, and I wasn't getting any time to do design. And I kind of knew the answer to my problems because every time I would meet people, I just projected this really negative vibe, and I was telling people, I have no time to design. I'm constantly solving other people's problems. I'm paying other people's salaries to do their work, and it's just like one complaint after the other. And I would come home in the evening at around 8:30 and quickly eat dinner, and I had a couple of waking hours left in me. But when I sat down to design, nothing. Nothing would come out on paper, and I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, I've hit my wall. All the other things in my company I could potentially delegate to someone. I can have somebody sit at the store. I can have somebody managing the people sitting at the store. I can give the graphic design to someone else. I can, of course, for production, I have my team of tailors and my cutters and my pattern maker. But designing, thinking about the brand vision, thinking about how you want to take this forward, designing the next collection. The next collection is going to roll around in 3 months, and you better have the fabrics ready. You better design it. You better know what you're going to order, where you're going to spend your money. And I felt like I've reached my peak. There's no more creativity left in me. And you can imagine as an artist what a scary feeling that might be, where you're like, I've run out of ideas. And it took a while for me to come out of this shell, and that's when I realized that during those really busy months, I let go of all these things that helped me generate the dots that you put together to come up with an inspiration idea. I let go of sleep. I wasn't really paying attention to exercise. I definitely was not doing the free thinking every day, because I would wake up in the morning thinking about the next problem